Welcome to Miss Martin Muses and another night of pub crawl and a little bit of boomerang on this end, but we've all worked it out, including the wrong intro. But hey, it's great to see you all here. And for those of you that will be listening on the replay, today it is none other than Mrs. Sassy Sasquatch. How are you
Hi,
doing tonight?
everyone.
Yeah,
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm glad we were able to make it work out. Now,
Absolutely.
originally Mrs. Cannoli Sasquatch. So,
Right.
yes.
Yes, I was formerly Mrs. Cannoli Sasquatch, and Cannoli thought it was time for me to kind of develop my own brand since I was kind of helping him with his channel. And so um, I ventured off on my own channel a few months ago, and then I recently changed the name just to kind of break away even more. So, kind of make my own identity.
Yay! Well, thank you. Well, why don't you tell everyone about yourself? Because that's part of what we do here at Pub Crawl. We meet new people. Tell me what
Okay,
you.
let's see. So, like, just a little bit of my background. So, let's see. I have been married to Mr. Cannoli Sasquatch for almost 20 years. We're high school sweethearts. Um, and we have a 15-year-old daughter, and we have a puppy who's, well, she's almost 6, so I guess she's not a puppy, but I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about myself. Let's see. What do I enjoy? What do I enjoy? I enjoy crafting. I enjoy audiobooks a lot. I'm really into murder mystery stuff and true crime. I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's a weird genre, but I really enjoy those type of books. So I'm an avid reader, but on audiobooks because it fits into my life a little bit easier. I could do, listen to audiobooks when I'm working. And I don't know. I've just spent a lot of time being a mom. And so you kind of lose like what you enjoy doing because you're busy being a parent. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where, that's kind of where I'm at. And then this YouTube thing is very time consuming, which I enjoy. It's helped, connect with a lot of different people. I've met so many different people. So I'm enjoying this newness. That's my mother-in-law, by the way. Hi, Fran.
Oh,
Thank you for
okay.
stopping by.
Hi, Mom. Yay.
I paid her like $20 to say that. So,
Oh, boy.
um, yeah, no, I have great in-laws. I have great in-laws. So, let's see. I'm originally from California. I was born in Huntington Beach. Lived in Orange County until I was about 9. So I've been out here in Arizona since I was 9, and I'm a certain age, and it's been a long time since I've been out here. So
Hmm. Well, everyone say hello. Yeah. And you, of course, you have a YouTube channel. What do you want to share about your YouTube channel?
So I first started doing YouTube with Mr. Cannoli Sasquatch. Let's see, we launched the channel a year ago in June, and it was just kind of fun being on the back end and stuff and just helping him out with whatever. And then I had to host a show for him because he traveled to Texas on a 4-day trip or something. And so I was like, here, I'll host it for you. And I really enjoyed doing that. And then I did one show with Vex Electronica and Shiro, and it was like a female perspective show, and we kind of just started doing that every once in a while. And then it turned into getting my own channel because Cannoli and I started doing what's called the Cannoli Connection. He used to have a podcast with 2 other guys, and one of the guys ended up not being able to do the podcast anymore. And so we had to kind of reinvent his Friday podcast. So we started doing the Cannoli Connection, and I just started really enjoying doing that. I was doing the female perspective, like type of show on his channel. And he's like, it was after we came back from Vegas. We went to the Geeks and Gamers and Friday Night Tights, that whole thing, neurotic meetup in Vegas in April, and really got to know everybody. And, I made a name for myself because Ryan Kinnell mentioned me as something he remembered from the meetup on Friday Night Tights. And I was like, oh my God, that's really cool. Like, we made a huge impression. As you can see, I'm kind of loud and I like to talk. And we had our merch on. We had our Cannoli Sasquatch merch on. So it kind of stood out. And so after we got back from that, we just started interacting a lot more with just the community because we had met so many people that we YouTube with there. And Cannoli was like, listen, why don't you launch your own channel? The Little Mermaid the Little Mermaid movie is coming out. You really want to review that movie because I'm a huge Little Mermaid fan. And I was really upset that they were changing it and
Mhm.
not giving me the mermaid that I asked for. Has nothing to do with the color of her skin, has nothing to do with any of that. I wouldn't have wanted her to look like me. I wanted her to look like Ariel from the cartoon. So I decided to launch my channel with doing a review of The Little Mermaid. And boy, was it a rough review, meaning I'd never done anything pre recorded. I'm not as comfortable as I am now. I had no idea what I was doing. However, I launched my channel with that, and I got 3,000 views, which was a big deal for my very first video. That's a lot for a brand new channel. Now, granted, it does help because I was already known out there as Mrs. Cannoli Sasquatch. So I had the following from Cannoli's channel, then being on YouTube and just knowing people. So that did help. But I got a lot of subscribers just from that video. So I was like, oh, this is fun. So then I started doing a Sunday show, and I didn't know what to call it. And then I was like, oh, Mrs. Sassy Sunday Stream. And it was kind of before, I don't know. Now I'm trying to remember how we did that whole change. I don't remember what I called it in the beginning, but it did become Mrs. Sassy Sunday Stream, hence the name change. I put a whole thing on Twitter saying, I want to change my name, something with Sassy. And Hypnotic actually was the one that said, why not do Mrs. Sassy Sasquatch? So you can still have that affiliation with Cannoli Sasquatch, because I still kind of wanted to have be under the umbrella of that. And from then on, I just I moved my Truly the Female Perspective podcast from Cannoli's channel over to mine. It's the first Friday of every month. And then I do a Sunday podcast called Mrs. Sassy Sunday Stream. And so and then I did a Barbie review, and the Barbie review just blew my channel up, meaning I got 125 subscribers. And for me, I'm a small channel. That was really big for me. And I got almost 9,000 views on that video. And I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. And that was Labor Day weekend. I launched my channel. Here we're sitting September. I've got 392 subscribers. I know it's small, but for me, just starting, I kind of feel like it's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. That's a month, I guess, that you've been doing this in? You said,
no, I'm sorry, Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, well, Memorial Day weekend, that's impressive, but if that was
Memorial
Labor Day, holy
yes,
crud.
so May. I always get them screwed up. I'm terrible with that. I'm like Labor Day, Memorial Day. I always get them screwed up. Memorial Day. So Memorial Day week, because that's when the Little Mermaid came out. Mm-hmm. And so I did my review. I went to the early screening. I went on a Wednesday night. I went with my notepad, and I was like, I meant business. And I had gotten my review out that weekend and launched my channel. And, it also helps when you kind of know bigger YouTubers. I have to say, Jay Drunk 3PO shouted out my channel on his live stream one day, which was super, super sweet of him. And I got about 30 subscribers from there. And now I have repeat people coming into the chat on my Sunday show from that, him shouting me out. So I just love this community. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm growing a little slowly, but I want to stay true to what I want to do and kind of just, do what I feel is important, because I kind of have a message. I have things I want to say and things I want to educate people on.
Oh, for sure. And that's part of the reason why you're here. And I want to say hi to everyone in the chat, Cannoli Sasquatch, as well as the man, Dariah. Thank you for being here. And Meteor Advocate Timon. Yeah, he wants the meteor. I want the aliens to come and invade. He says hello to both of us. And Corey Cochran was here earlier. And of course, Fran, your mother-in-law. And all of you that are watching right now and we'll be watching on the replay. Well, we always choose a pub in which to meet. So before we get into your topic for the chat, tell us a little bit about Harry's Bar.
So I don't really go out to bars very often. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick a bar. It's not fictional. And I actually have, hold on a second. I have a little Google Doc. I kept this little information. So it's of all Venetian bars, Harry's is the most legendary of all. So it's it's a very famous bar because this place is famous all over the world as it's the birthplace of the Bellini. And compromising comprising, I can speak, comprising peach puree and champagne. Martini is also an institution at Harry's in Venice. It's like, I guess they have like a separate little restaurant. But anyway, I picked this because I Bellinis are delicious. I want to go to Italy so bad. And I thought it would be really cool to go to the birthplace of the Bellinis. So there we are.
Ooh.
We're in Italy.
Yay! So we're drinking Bellinis tonight, everybody.
We are.
Yay!
We
Yeah,
are.
yes, I've had the pleasure of going to Italy. It is amazing, and the art and everything. You think you know that you've seen it because you've seen pictures, but until you
Mhm.
see it live, I mean, it's amazing. So everyone, field trip. Let's all go to Italy together one day.
I was trying to find a good bar and I was unsuccessful. I could have researched it more, but I would love, love, love to go to Tuscany because I'm a huge sunflower freak. Like I absolutely adore sunflowers. And on my bucket list is going to Tuscany and just going to the fields of sunflowers. So maybe one day.
Ooh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you choosing Harry's Bar because I learned so much. I've never heard of this one before. Maybe I should know, but now
I know it
I
was
love
interesting.
yeah, yeah. Oh, Meteor Advocate Moon says have some grappa on me. Oh gosh, yeah, some of their stuff. It's intense. I love the wine, of course, from Italy. You know, they got their Chiantis, but of course all their other great wines
Yep.
that I just love. Well, all right. So you wanted to talk with us today, this evening, about well, two things. You were mentioned mental health, which is a great concern, and protecting our kids. So I'm going to go ahead and hand the metaphorical microphone over to you. You can choose which one of those you want to talk about and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I think that those two things go hand in hand. So, what I'm starting to see, and what a lot of first of all, my channel kind of has two different mottos. One of them is to make real women great again, and we don't necessarily have to talk about that. But I have this passion of respecting real biological women because I feel like a lot is being taken from us, and we're not being respected for who we are as people, the fact that we have an amazing gift to create human beings. And so one of those things is make great real women great again. And another part of it that I do a lot on Sundays is talking about protecting our kids and protecting just the mental health side of our kids. So what I'm passionate about is the fact that there are so many things, and let me just put this out there. I have no problem with people being gay. If they want to be gay, that's fine. What I have a problem with is all of these things that are continuously pushed into our kids' faces as far as who they need to be, what they need to be, what they need to identify as, the pronouns. It's very, very confusing in the sense that if your child has any sort of mental health issues and they're susceptible to, say, obsessive compulsive thoughts, and they're, unfortunately, you can't shield your children from everything. You can't, other than locking your kid in a box and not letting them see anything. That would be your only way of protecting your kids. They are putting what I feel are specific agendas and everything that our children watch. Now, I have a 15-year-old, and I was lucky enough to get past all of these messages that they're putting in younger shows. I just heard or read something about Paw Patrol is now coming out with their own agenda, and they're putting in, I don't know if it's non-binary. I don't know, but they are putting in a questionable character for kids to have experience to.
Paw Patrol? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you.
No, I
Whoa.
need to research it more because it just happened, like,
Okay.
I think Cannoli was telling me last night or the night before, and I need to pull the article, but there was a story where they are starting to put their own messaging in Paw Patrol with a new character.
Oh, wow.
And that Paw Patrol is huge. I
I was
mean,
about ready to say
yep.
it's preschool age.
That's okay. So that's my point. My problem is that we are starting when kids are super, super, super impressionable. Super impressionable. They say that the human brain is not fully developed till you're 25 years old. Okay.
Mhm.
And They are exposing the kids to things that are not necessarily necessary, because sexuality is something that, yes, it is a part of life, and it is important. And if you believe in certain things, you believe that it was meant for procreation and yada yada. Okay. Why a child needs to know what you identify as or what your sexual preference is in kindergarten is beyond me. So on my Sunday stream, I talk about a lot of this. So when I got my start on this, you have to remember Memorial Day weekend was the very last weekend in May. What is June?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I did 4 solid Sundays of I had so many videos, articles, everything about family-friendly pride parades. And they were so disgusting. The things that they had, I'm surprised my channel didn't get flagged. I mean, I did get flagged for talking about the coof and something that it does medically, because I work in the industry and I was reading a medical article, and they flagged my channel, and I got a warning and my video taken down. So you got to be careful. So what bothered me the most is the fact that, and I'll try to be as PC and as clean as I can be, but these things were really inappropriate. Such things as the video showed, and these were home, people taking videos with their cell phone. You have let's just say like a carnival, if you will, without the rides. You got booths and you've got food and all this stuff. So you walk up, and the very first table has buttons. Okay. Oh, kids like to collect buttons. That would be so much fun to have buttons. The buttons had words and sayings on there that were not kid friendly. I'm just going to leave it up to your imagination. They were
I
not
can imagine, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Then this is what really got me. In the back behind the buttons, there was all this beautiful like cartoon art, and it was all Disney.
Oh.
King Triton was getting his nipples pinched by Aladdin.
Oh, that's sick.
And that was just one of many different pieces of artwork. There was also a toy in the shape of an ice cream cone sort of thing right out by the buttons. And this little girl was standing there looking at it. I mean, there's video evidence. I mean, I was playing the video on my channel, and there was all these shirts with questionable things. There was adults walking around half naked. And these were just, these type of events were happening throughout the month. And oh, hi Vex, how are you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I just saw her.
Say hi. Yeah. I think she's doing another show, so I wanted to say hi before she left.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for stopping in and helping out.
Thank you, love. Appreciate you. So I had so many, different, videos and stuff. So here's where it gets really crazy. So during this month, okay, so Memorial Day is for what? Our veterans, our soldiers, honoring our country, right? Isn't
those are that lost their lives. Yeah.
Okay, fighting for this country, right? Okay, so what do you get? One day for people who fought for our country for generations. One day. So as soon as May 31st is over, because I believe it's May 31st, we jump right into Pride Month. So this girl on Instagram, I got into an argument with because she posted a picture of her and her 2 girls talking about, this is the day after Memorial Day. She posts, I kid you not, drag queens are heroes. So I got into quite a lengthy conversation between her and I, and then other people jumped in, where I was basically stating the fact that they're not heroes. Our soldiers and the people who fight and died for our country are the heroes. We just celebrated that yesterday, but you didn't see anything about that. But yet the amount of videos that I got and pictures and everything of people celebrating Pride Month was disgusting in comparison. So she's teaching her little girls about how drag queens are heroes, yet we're not talking about anything else. So then I said something about not needing a month, and just it went round and round and round, and I can't remember now because it was a few months ago, but I have to say that my argument was pretty good. And I mean, I was just saying, I don't need a month. I don't know about you, my friend, but do you walk up and introduce yourself with a shirt on that says you're straight? And if you are, if you're not, it doesn't matter. But do you list your sexuality on your shirt?
Oh, well, no, and that it's entirely foreign. Well, it would be like and
It's
giving a
strange.
big sentence, yeah. And understand that I come from the generation, I think that's just very similar to you, of the
Mhm.
live and let live generation.
E-
It's like we knew there were drag queens, and I've known
Exactly.
drag queens that don't like it happening with children because they're like, no,
Yes.
no, 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 that's adults. And
Yes.
the idea of, yeah, people, especially being in the music and the theater era, it was
Yep.
not uncommon. Yeah,
Nope.
a lot
And
of
I'm
gay
fine with
people,
them.
and no
I
one
am
cares.
fine. Yep.
And so but one of the things that a lot of the gay people in my life wanted, they wanted there to be a they didn't want to be identified as, oh, the gay singer or the gay
Exactly.
this or the gay that. And so just in the same way I wouldn't advertise my sexuality,
Exactly.
they
Because
wanted.
it's not who you are. You're a person. That's just a small part of it. But if that is where your whole identity is based on, I think you have an issue.
Mhm. But, I think that because of the TikTok culture and all that that we
Mhm.
did not have, it is a way to get attention, and
Yes.
and that's not to say for those people that are genuinely having gender dysphoria and that are
Right.
working things out, like Jariah is like, "Yeah, puberty is confusing."
Uh-huh.
Heck yes. And, you need to be compassionate, you need to talk with kids. That's the other thing, parents, talk to your kids. I do understand them being unhappy about things being done with them, say, at school or things being interested in them at
Hmm.
school, but for crying out loud, I've been screaming about this for years.
Yeah.
Not just on this, but
Yeah.
find out what's going on at your kid's school. Don't just dump your kid off. And,
Yeah.
you know
You do. You need to stay in because now you can't trust anybody. And that's what I
Mhm,
was saying too. There's so many times where I am pulling articles and there are kindergarten teachers that are dressing up as furries because they want their kids to ask questions. They want to There's this one guy, I saw an article today that he wore a dress
mhm,
and he wants the kids to know that it's just my point is that they want the kids to ask questions. They want the kids to know what they identify as and they're confusing the kids. If you see a guy with a beard and that looks like a man but wearing a dress, that's going to open up for questions, right?
mhm.
But it shouldn't because that's not the time or the place for that type of question. It's just I feel like it's confusing these kids more than it needs. And you say the TikTok generation, social media. So I mentioned I have a 15-year-old and she does suffer from mental health issues and was diagnosed when she was 9. So we've had a really long road. Oh, sorry,
No,
there she goes. Hey, get out. But at 11 years old, she decided that she needed to be a boy. And as a parent, you know exactly, you know your child. I'm sorry,
mhm,
you just know in your heart. You've watched them grow up, you know what they like, what they don't like, and I just knew that there was something more to this. Um and she was so highly influenced by social media and the fact that every other video on TikTok is somebody being really different and being something that they think they need to be.
mhm.
And she went through it. I'm not kidding you. We cut her hair off. She dressed like a boy. She wanted to change her name. Hi, Steven. How are you? She wanted to change her name. She wanted to um, identify as a boy. She wanted to wear a binder. It was so traumatic for her because with her she one of her diagnoses is severe OCD, so obsessive compulsive thoughts is where she really struggles.
Mhm.
So, oh, how nice. I like a good raid.
Yeah, thank you.
So, needless to say, she would go to school one day dressed as a boy, and then she would overthink everything and try to dress like a girl the next day. And she was back and forth. She was all over the place. She didn't know where she wanted to be. And people at school started to make fun of her. And she never, went as far as having people call her a different name. But there was a point where she was trying to think of a different name that she wanted us to call her. Now, mind you, she was diagnosed at 9. So we're still trying to figure out how to treat this. When your child is 9 years old, and this is how the mental health and everything kind of crosses over. So when you're a 9-year-old child and you don't want to get out of bed, for a mom, seeing your child like that is devastating. It's absolutely devastating, because what does a 9-year-old have to be so upset about? So it's all whatever is going on in their head. There's nothing she needs to talk about. It's not like, okay, something tragic happened in her life. It's all, unfortunately, Cannoli and I have some pretty messed up genes down the line. And so we can't say we're surprised that she struggles the way that she does. So from 9 to 11, we're still trying to figure out the best route for her. I don't want to medicate a young girl. I don't want to medicate my child. So we're trying all sorts of different things, whether it's, she had her brain read. So I'm just going to tell you. So she has severe OCD and anxiety with ADHD and autistic tendencies, a mood and a tic disorder. Now, they can't call the mood bipolar because she's under 18. So she's got a lot of stuff coming up against her. You throw social media into the mix. You throw being just a young kid and not knowing who you are, where you belong, what you think you need to be. So we went through this for probably a good 2 years. And it's devastating as a mom, because you gave birth to this little girl. You named her something extremely feminine, and she's always been girly. She's always, like, every single birthday party was super girly. She always wore dresses, played dress up in the high heel. I mean, just never once did she ever give me any inclination that she was anything but. That's how I knew this was something that was influenced by social media.
Okay.
So, we went through it for 2 years. I on and off, back and forth, and that's where the OCD comes from too. Is like, she's just all over the place, and it's exhausting. So I supported her, and I said, listen, you can do whatever you want. You can dress however you want. Not really sure I can call you by a different name, but if you live this lifestyle for 1 year without backing out, and this is truly who you are, we'll go start seeing somebody. Meaning, like, the therapy for gender dysmorphia and all of that stuff. We'll start the process.
Okay. Yes. So, you were very supportive. Yes.
I was.
There's a stereotype of the evil parent that's like, no, I don't want to hear it. Sounds like you.
Or the evil parent who takes their kid the first time they say something and goes and gets them hormone blockers right like that. That I don't agree with either. Because when you're 11 years old, you can't even, like, figure out what you want to eat for dinner. This kid who's 15 now has had so many different hair colors. I can't even she can't even choose a hair color. I'm going to let her choose her gender. I'm going to let her, like, have top surgery or whatever. No, she can't even, like I said, she changes her mind all the time. So when these parents fully support their kids in the sense that I feel like it's harmful, where they just dive into this and they give everything, and they're like, okay, all right, let's go to the doctor. Let's start the process. That I don't, and this day and age, I feel like it is way too easy to get what you need to transition. I'm sorry. I think it's way too easy.
Yeah, it used to be that you had to go through several years of evaluation, because of the adults that I know or that are in popular culture who have transitioned.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not just like it. A more cynical view might be that there is a lot of money in.
Oh, 100%, 110%. I'm in the medical industry, and you're absolutely right. It's a money grab. It's a money grab. And one of the things too, so I don't know if you're familiar, but I got wildly fascinated before transitioning was what I feel like now is a fad. I am sorry. I don't mean to disrespect. There are a percentage of people out there that definitely suffer from this and definitely have the issues and are much happier because they've done what they needed to do. And I support them. That's fine. But I feel like a huge number of people are doing it because they think it's trendy, because there's been a lot of stories of transition regret, and that worries me for certain things happening to people in the future. But I was wildly obsessed with the show I Am Jazz. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I am familiar
Okay.
with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Did
Very
you
sad
see?
story.
Yeah, but did you see the journey, the length of the journey that she had to go through until she could do, like, I think the hormone blockers were given too early. I don't think she had to go through as much therapy as she may I think that she should have before that. But if you watch the show like I did every season, it took her from hormone blockers at 11 all the way to what, almost 18 years old for the surgery
Oh
and
my.
everything in between. So, but unfortunately, my personal opinion is I don't think that she's truly happy. I don't think this is 100% what she thought she wanted, because if you watch the show, after she had her surgery, she started completely binge eating, gained a ton of weight, and is really struggling mentally. Like, she had to take a year off before she could go to Harvard, and she had to prove to them that she was mentally stable to reapply for the school. And I see a lot of stories where people transition and they're not happy after. But there are many people that are, which is great. But I feel like right now it's a fad. So my daughter finally, what, I don't know what happened or what changed, but I would say we've been out of that phase. That phase lasted almost 2 years. And I want to say we've been out of that phase now for a good maybe 2 years. But of course, she struggles with other things because of social media. So, I just feel like my whole point of this is that our kids, and there's a lot of mental health issues I think that are more are popping up more than ever, and I don't know if it has something to do with the environment, the foods we eat when we're pregnant, the huge consumptions of milk that my daughter drank when she was younger. She absolutely loved milk. I don't, the hormones in the milk, I just don't know. Plus her family genes are terrible. So my problem is that these young kids that are, being subjected to this in the classrooms at family functions that are supposed to be family functions for pride, and just the things that are everywhere making it okay, and just, I guess, shoving sexuality as a whole in kids' faces, putting things in cartoons, putting messaging in things that are catered to children, I feel like is really harmful.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I've
and
seen it. I lived through it.
yeah, and in general, in education, for example,
Mhm.
the sex ed stuff starts about 5th grade, 4th grade, and, the parents have to sign off on it, they have to get permission and all that, and that's the normal way, if you will, that it's to be done, and parents can also opt out. But it
Yeah.
seems like in these situations that it's just being done without even asking. And when I was a kid, yeah, we had sex ed, we had all these things,
Yep.
but entertainment, it was always clear there was a reason why it was called adult entertainment. It's like
Right.
there was really a line between this is for kids, this is for grown-ups, and not
Uh-huh.
just about sex and sexuality.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I think that I don't understand why. Like, I was one of those people. I literally, and I used to love that. I have not set my foot in Target since all of that stuff went down, because I feel like it was so unnecessary to have that type of merchandise targeted at kids. If you wanted to do that, listen, I am like, just live your life. I don't mind what you do, but do it privately. I don't think that it's appropriate to have these things out for our kids to see. If you want to do that, have a separate store, have an online website, have something where people can get what they want. I support it. I just feel like, and Stephen is right, there is too much information. And I think that's one of the problems too with my daughter, is that she's just inundated all the time. And listen, I'm on TikTok too. It's a guilty pleasure. I said it before. I love a lot of the stuff on there, and a lot of the stuff I went through 2 weeks ago on a late Friday night. Couldn't fall asleep. So they have a For You page, and then they have like a live option, and you can just go and see all the people doing their live, TikTok things. And the amount of people on there that I feel are just going in the wrong direction, totally confused. There's just so many of them out there, and I don't understand why and what is going on now that is different in the 90s, in the early 2000s. What is different now? Why are so many people in the wrong body? Why is all of a sudden God, because I'm sorry, having a baby, growing a human being inside of you is one of the most magical, craziest things that you could ever experience. And I believe there's a higher power that makes this possible. So why all of a sudden, because I feel like you choose up there, you choose before you come or whatever, you have everything back. Why is it that all of these people are being sent incorrectly? Like, what's going on? Is it our bodies? Like, how can the science get it wrong that many times where the chromosomes are wrong? I work in this field. I don't understand it. How do you have any idea? Like, what are your thoughts on why things are so different now than they used to be? What's changed?
Well, I can tell you, I started teaching in the 90s and quit full-time teaching. Never, ever going to do that again. 2 years ago, I've done several things about that. People have no idea what's going on in schools. They know about this stuff now, but there's a lot of other stuff too.
Sure.
But two things that are different and that I've been able to compare with my own experience growing up. Social media. You cannot underestimate the influence of social media. And the other thing has been children don't have moms and dads with them.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is true.
Even when they have them, they don't, and not to judge, because I know sometimes, you got to work, you got to do all that. And divorce, I know there's times it has to happen, but I have never had a student situation where the parents were together. Now, you're the first person actually that I've ever heard of that happening. And and these kids are sad and they don't have guidance, and it's their peers that are guiding them. And a lot of it was the gay community when I was growing up, and I'm not going to try to quite conflate the two, because gay people say, hey, this is totally a different thing.
Right.
But if you really wanted to be included, it was a way to have a family and all that kind of stuff, camaraderie. And how are you special now?
Yeah.
How are you special? Especially, it's like, oh, I'm going to be different. If you're like me and you are the pastiest white woman who is ever a pastiest white with a very Scandinavian-ish name, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not special. But so this makes you special, makes you belong. I'm really being cautious though, because I don't want to downplay the experiences because I think that what they are experiencing is real, but we cannot overestimate. And the fact that, remember, we have a sterile culture. It really started with, people like Margaret Sanger and all that. That it started off as a good idea. It's like, oh, people should be able to regulate. And now we're into sterilization. And sterilization has found itself into our society in several different ways. And I think that this is the latest one. I believe there might be a little bit of spiritual warfare going on.
Yeah, but I think we all need Jesus.
Yeah, or something. You need something. Or
something you need something. Yes. Yeah, something pure. I agree. Yeah.
But for sure, it's like the inmates running the asylum. If you leave kids to their own devices, this is just one area.
Yeah.
They don't have the equipment, the mental capacities to deal with it. Like when you said your daughter felt this way when she was 11, most girls my own, we haven't had our periods yet, even at that age. You know what I mean? It's things change so much in
Yeah.
your body and your hormones, and
Well,
so I
that's the
get.
thing too. She did actually, I'll never forget this. This poor girl, we had to change her medicine because I do believe we started trying to do different types of medicine because I was desperate. And the poor thing, like we were trying to change her medicine from one, and changing medicine can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
And poor thing
Oh,
got her period that same weekend
oh,
that we were trying to change her medicine. She was just a hot mess. She was a hot
oh,
mess. I
oh.
know. But you're right. I think even if you're, and I do agree with you on the parents being divorced. I do
Mm.
believe that sometimes they don't know where to fit in, or they want to feel accepted, or they want to belong. But I think too, kids just, you're right, when they're left up to their own devices. Oh, hi Ash, how are you?
Mhm.
Good to see
Hello.
you. Um and especially if you have obsessive compulsive disorder and you just overanalyze everything, you hear things differently than we. It was interesting. So she had her brain read. Like, we spent $1,000 and she had her brain read, right? So they put this thing
Mhm.
on her brain and they read all the different parts of her brain. And so the cingulate part of her brain, I believe they called it, they said there was some issue with that, but just imagine your brain is yelling at each other. So
Yeah.
imagine this. When you got up this morning, you got dressed, right?
Yeah.
Did you have trouble? Did you just pick an outfit and you were fine?
Um, yeah,
For the
but
most,
I'm pretty dull. I just wore my yoga pants.
but you
So,
had no problem just picking out the yoga. Okay.
yeah.
So imagine having a emotional breakdown over what pair of shoes to wear for that day and you're 11 years old.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
you can't even figure out what pair of shoes you want to wear, how the hell can you even figure out where you're supposed to be in life? Am I supposed to be a girl? Am I supposed to be a boy? They're telling me this, or I'm hearing this. And then on the flip side, this is another problem. Here's where it gets out of control. So we are having all these kids that are confused. Social media it is horrible. I know. And here we are on it. But I think
Mhm.
there are good things from social media. I've met a lot of wonderful people. I've learned a lot of stuff. But then you get to the point where you need your child to get some help because they're not functioning right. They need some
Mhm.
direction that you can't provide from the mental health community. Okay, they need help. One, it's extremely hard to find anybody good that it's not affordable. It is not affordable. Let me just
Mhm.
tell you something. Her first medication that was working for her, I think we had samples, and we went to fill her medication. And with her health insurance, because she had a medication deductible, which I'm in this industry, I've never heard of this before. I don't do I do medical, like doctor stuff. I don't do the pharmacy stuff. It was $850 for me to get her prescription.
Oh my god.
$850. So I often see when these people, I listen, I'm not saying that, I'm pro guns and I'm all that because I feel like they're necessary in a certain aspect. But my point is that instead of blaming the gun, why don't we look at why that person picked the gun up? Oh, gee,
Oh, yeah.
they probably don't get the help. Like, I get in these arguments all the time. I feel like like I said, I'm not excusing what they've done. Okay. But
Mhm.
instead of saying, oh, it's the gun's fault, why don't we look at why the person picked up the gun in the first place? Why they felt the need to do this? Every single time it's a mental health issue. They can't get the help. I listen, if she didn't have us as parents, mental health medicine is yes, it
Mhm.
was. So that's the thing. She has a couple of prescriptions. And thank God it's gotten a little bit cheaper over the years. And like Costco pharmacy out here has like helped me figure stuff out. Her doctor writes a 1 month prescription, but she makes it for 3 months so I can cut it in half. It's like, so she does this whole thing so I can get more for my money.
Yeah.
Um, but let's just put it to you this way. My daughter was really struggling, and We didn't know what else to do. And at this point, we had been through everything. I am talking every type of therapy. She went and had like, um, I forget the name of it, but it was brain exercises. It's almost like to retrain your brain.
No,
All of this,
yeah, I know what that
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah, all of this stuff was out of pocket. If it wasn't for my in-laws, I don't know what we would have done. We were very fortunate to have financial help.
Yeah.
But the amount of money that we spent, the amount of time, all of the sessions for, I don't know if it really worked, because you don't really know what's going to work for them. Because okay, there's two different kinds of mental help that I think people need. You've got the thing, like for me, I had a really bad upbringing. I had a really crappy childhood. A lot of shit happened to me, and I needed to talk it out. I
Mhm.
had situations to talk out. My daughter doesn't have anything to talk about. She needs to understand why she's feeling this way. She needs to learn how to cope with her obsessive compulsive thoughts and her anxiety. So hers is more like she needs to learn how to cope with how she's feeling. Mine was, I needed to talk about what happened to me, to why I was feeling a certain way. So
Yeah.
there's different types of therapy, and she needed something different. So it's really hard to find the right therapy for somebody who is definitely dealing with more of maybe a chemical imbalance versus somebody who has had trauma in their life that they can talk about. So
Mhm.
we went through all these different things, and we tried some sassy, same with my upbringing. Oh, same sassy. Yeah, I know. But I have to say it molds us into who we are, and it's made me the mom that I am because of what I didn't have growing up. But it's definitely challenging, because you question yourself as a mom every day, because you don't know what's right and wrong and all that stuff, especially with this.
Mhm.
So after years and years of doing this and medications and stuff, she got to a point where, let's just say, there was some suicidal thoughts,
Mhm.
and it was expressed on paper.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But here's another thing. When you're dealing with mental illness, there's also manipulation that goes with it. Kids are really manipulative to get what they want in general. So you're dealing with a teenager, you're dealing with hormones, you're dealing with mental health issues, you're dealing with social media. So like, as a parent, you have to take things seriously, because if you just don't know.
Mhm.
I was on the fence with this thing with her when this came about, because it's like, was it cool to write it? Did somebody else on social media do that? Where is this coming from? It is a lot. That's why I'm saying, when she was
Mhm.
11 years old and she wouldn't get out of bed, like, it got to the point where she wouldn't even brush her hair. Like, I had to take her to my hairstylist, and her and the other hairstylist, because I've known her for years, did me a solid and stood there for like an hour and a half, and they both just they got all the knots out. I was so grateful.
Mhm.
But so it got to the point where I was like, "Oh my god, this is scary now," because as a parent, you can't take these things lightly. You
No.
can't. You don't know. Okay, maybe you thought it was cool to write. Maybe there were thoughts that you were having. She said she had written it several months prior, and then she was having a bad day, and she decided to share it with me. I mean, when you get something like that over text message when you're at work, you're like,
Oh,
okay,
terrifying.
well, yeah. So, couple of things. Try to find an establishment that will take care of your child right away. Is there a waiting list? Like, how can you get them in? So I find a place, get her in, and we're sitting there for hours for the intake, right? And, you
Yeah.
have to go through, different questions. And, of course, me and my husband are both there, because, you got to show them that, like, there's support here. Like, we've got this core, like, we're here for her. And so it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I haven't talked about this on my channel or anything, just because I don't know. It's, I don't think this in-depth part has ever really come up. I talk about it a little bit, but so dropping her off was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It's kind of like putting them in prison. You can't call them. You can't really talk to them. You don't know when they're going to get out. Like, they have to be released. And so you essentially sign your child's entire life over to this establishment, and you trust them, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the first night, she's there. And I start getting calls the next morning, and they were just like, one doctor called me, and here's the thing too. I apologize. To back it up a little bit, you bring all the medications. You list
Mhm.
everything. She's on this. And also it's very important with certain medications to take at the same time every day. It's very important. So I list all her medications. I bring everything. This is when she takes it. This is how much, but the whole breakdown. And when you get a medication concoction right, you don't mess with it, especially when it comes to mental health. You've got to keep it up. So I bring everything fine. So the next day, a doctor calls me, and they're talking about like medication or something. Long story short, they were giving her the wrong medication. I never put it on the list. They called the pharmacy I used to use and got this information of this medication that I took my daughter off and weaned her off several months prior. Now, the medication that they gave her, plus the medication she had already had in her system, could have been fatal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I did not know this at the time, what was going on. Like I'm hearing this and I'm like, okay, I don't know. This is not okay. This is not okay. Then that's the first red flag. Second red flag is I get another call. I think this was from another doctor. I don't know who was calling. And I was like, okay, so what's the plan? Like, here are my concerns. Here's what I would like to see happen for her while she's there. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. All we can do is make sure she's not going to herself. And once we feel like she's fine and not going to, we release her. I was like, wait a minute. You don't find out why she felt that way and help her work through it and maybe give her some tools to talk herself out of obsessive compulsive thoughts, or maybe help her through her anxiety or this or that. No, I'm sorry. That's not the place. That's not what we do here. We just make sure they're not going to themselves.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's all they do.
That's all they do.
And
They're babysitters. They're babysitters. So let me tell you what I did. I was pissed. I'm like, all right, I friggin' had it. Why is she there? My husband can do the same thing. He works from home. My husband can make sure that she's not going to do that. Okay. We're
Mhm.
here. I don't work from home, but you know what? We have cameras all over the house. We could have figured it out. Right. So I go and I'm pissed. And I took her out against medical advice. And it took me a while to get her released. And I had to agree that they were going to possibly call Child Protective Services on me for having her taken out against medical advice.
Oh my gosh.
I got all of her medical records. I signed a release for all that. I had to go I think I went like the day after to get the medical records, and I had a meeting with the supervisor there. So what my daughter had told me that happened there is that they did not allow her to have feminine products. She was on her period. They would not give her that. They only gave her one medication, and it was birth control. I did have my daughter on that because she has horrific periods, and I work for an OBGYN. It's fine.
Oh, hey, I know all about it.
Okay. And
Don't
you
need
know
to
what?
justify it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, people are like, oh, you've got your young kid on. Yeah, I do. She never leaves the house. I know where she is. Listen, stop. So they gave her that. She's like, yeah, mom, I only took the blue pill. I didn't take anything else. And then she goes, then I took this other pill. And she's like, it didn't look like what I normally took. Yeah, because they gave you the wrong medicine. So I got the list of the medicine that they gave her, that they signed up. I had proof of everything.
Good.
Not only did that screw my kid up, because she said when she was there, all they did was sit around and color. They were just babysat. And a lot of them were mean. Like,
Mm.
they don't want to be. And then of course, after I take her out, I decide to read the reviews on the place. And boy, did I beat myself up as a mom. Oh my gosh, that was the worst decision I ever made, was putting her there.
Mhm.
It still troubles her to this day. She says she has, kids don't really know PTSD. They use it differently. It's fine, but she still struggles. with that experience there. It was less than 24 hours, but it was enough to not sit well with her. But my insurance wouldn't cover it because it was less than 24 hours, and they hit me with a $2,000 bill. And let me tell you what I did. I hit them right back, threatening a lawsuit for mismedicating my child and almost killing her. It took about 6 months, but they wrote it off because they knew I was right.
Yeah. You see, and that's just what's so awful is, as a parent, you want to trust, you want to get your kid the help they need. And this is a situation where the kids get the help they so-called, they need, quote unquote,
Mhm.
even though it was an awful situation.
Yep.
And there's hundreds of that can't even have that.
No,
But
because it's too expensive or they don't have the resources. And what's really sad too is that it's not just our kids. It's mental health in general. I have a friend that I work with, and she has an adult son who was actually in the service, and so he has to go to the VA hospital to get his services. And his suicide threat was extreme, like scary extreme. Nothing like my daughter. He's older, whatever. Same thing. They held him until they felt like, instead of getting him the first 2 times, instead of getting him the help that he needed, they made sure that he was not going to harm himself, and then they released him. It wasn't until the 3rd time he was there that they actually it took a while, and it took a couple of really weird avenues first to get him to where he finally needs to be now. But why does it take 3 attempts to cry for help for you to get the help that you need, when maybe on time 2 you would have actually yourself? So even our soldiers and our servicemen and everything, they're not even being taken care of. Nobody is. Mental health in general, instead of spending all this money and worrying about transitioning, and I don't mean disrespect, but the amount Canada will pay for your entire transition.
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, and they won't do this. Well, I mean, and also, I mean, I will say that the problem with mental health, especially right now, is
Mhm.
they kind of rightly were against like involuntary incarceration
Mhm.
because it was
Yeah.
abused so much. But
Absolutely, 100%.
yeah, but
Yeah.
instead of saying, well, maybe we just needed to monitor the abuse and
Mhm.
still look after them. So what ends up happening is that is, that's one of the reasons why they will only treat you for suicide. That's the only way you can get
The only
immediate
way.
mental health.
Absolutely.
It threatens
Mhm.
is to threaten that. And so well-meaning people,
Mhm.
in response to past abuses, went too far. And I know of a radio personality who is a psychiatrist, and he was horrified about how hard it was for him and someone that knows the system to get his daughter the help that she needed. Um, yeah, I mean, this is enough to just uh, break people's hearts. And I can also say that you can refer a kid, uh, as a teacher,
Mhm.
but nothing nothing happens. Nothing can happen because they are so overwhelmed. Like we would have a counselor show up like once a week,
Yeah.
and it's like half the student population is in crisis. This was
Yeah.
during the pandemic, and I'm just
Right.
like, so they don't have the resources. They're not putting the resources in there, and if and so you see it manifested now in a lot of these behaviors. Some of these videos that you'll see, for example, of
Mhm.
kids going crazy in school. It's like, yeah, because in many
Yep.
cases, mental illness is behind it. And though there does come a point where there are some situations where the kids know exactly what they're doing, obviously.
100%. And you know what? Here's the thing real quick. When she was 9 years old, I had my suspicions, but I'm like, "All right, here's the deal. I have to see, is she a shitty kid or does she have issues?" Because your
Mhm,
kids do act up. Like, did she have a
mhm.
behavioral problem or was there something wrong? But then when you look back at it and your daughter has to eat for weeks on end 3 French toast sticks when she was a little girl. 3 French toast every morning. Like, she had the same meals every morning. When we were in the bathroom, she would count the tiles on the tub. She lined all her stuff up all the time. She couldn't do stuff until things were in a certain order. There were so many things looking back on the first few years of her life where I was like, wow, that really makes sense. But you're right. You have to decipher whether or not they're just a kid who is either taking advantage, manipulating you, or just behavioral issues, or they're really suffering from something, because you have to know how to parent it. You can't parent them the same way.
Mhm. And I can also tell you that they have tried to outsource it to teachers. So I could have a
Ugh,
class of 30 kids,
yeah,
and I was expected to look after the mental needs and IEPs and all these intervention things and
sure.
keep track of the medications and all that for like 10, 15 kids. And understand, since I was a music teacher, that means that 150 kids that
Yeah,
you had to keep track of.
yeah.
So they're expecting teachers to be the psychiatrists, and I think what happened was when the pandemic happened,
Hmm.
people like me, we were just like, "We're done.
Yep.
Goodbye," because they added even more onto that, and I actually feel for the people who have kids in schools who are wondering why all the teachers are quitting, but I
Yeah.
have been maniacally laughing because it's like it's high time. It's high time teachers just left because
I don't blame them.
no one
I
ever
don't blame
listens
them.
to us.
No.
So it's like we could tell you, like you were talking a little bit about some of the something that rhymes with mooter in school, school mooters. There was one particular in Parkland. I always tell people, read the book Why Meadow Died,
Hmm.
written by the father of Meadow Pollock, that kid had teachers from kindergarten on. Everyone was like, "Oh dear God, do something. This kid is scared,
Sorry.
or the dog's even afraid." You know what I mean? It's like he's displaying all these mental problems and this and this. He's frightening the students. He's frightening the teachers because, of course, by the time and nothing, they just moved him, and just put him in these schools, put him in this school, and all that. And so then we look what happened. So the teachers are often we're yelling, we're screaming from the rooftops that we want something to be done, and we're writing it all up. Like when you look at the rap sheets, when I say rap sheets, so there's the because they can't handle it, and maybe it's part of societal breakdown. I don't know, but I want to, before we go into the wind down portion,
Yeah.
a solution. I mean, because obviously what you've been sharing with us is very heartfelt and in many ways heartbreaking, and we know that that's just one kid, and coming from a very, very loving family. All those people out there that have children, or maybe they are divorced. It
Yeah.
happens. Eh, what can we as society, as parents, as humans do about this?
I, I have no idea. I mean, I feel like if we put as much effort into mental health as we do on a lot of the things that I don't feel are necessary, and I don't really have I mean, I do. I have examples as far as like we're really putting so much effort into making sure that medication and doctors are available for these kids who are having gender dysphoria, which I do agree that they need to be available, but they're making them so readily available, and all of the things that they need to treat them appropriately. I feel like it's more like it supports them transitioning more than anything, because I feel like this world is going in a really weird direction. But if they put as much time and effort into mental health as they do other things, I don't understand why mental health just doesn't get the appropriate funding and attention and leadership that other things do. I think it starts higher up. I'm just one little voice. I wish I had a big platform. I wish I could start a movement. I don't even know what to do, to be honest with you. I just know it starts higher up, and it starts with funding and resources, and I don't feel like we have what we need. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the answer, but I don't know how to get it.
for sure. Yeah, it's a little bit hopeless. Well, and
I feel hopeless, to be honest with
yeah,
you. No, right now at this very moment, the journey that I've been on, I'm defeated, I'm exhausted, I'm emotionally drained, and I'm literally just taking it a day at a time. I told Vex today, sometimes I feel like I'm hanging on by one bra strap and a single hair extension
Yeah.
because I work full time. My husband has to, I mean, both parents have to work. I mean, good heavens, to pay $5 a gallon for gas. But, she has the support. She has wonderful grandparents that are always around. Like she has everything that she needs. But it's still not enough. It's still not enough. And I beat myself up every day over the
Oh.
decisions I've made, the decisions I should make in the future. She's almost she'll be 16 years old in April. She's getting closer to being an adult. I don't think that she can live on her own. I don't think she can take care of herself. I'm afraid for the future of a lot of these kids, starting with my daughter. And so I'm pretty much just like barely making it these days.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear
Well,
that. Well,
it's okay. I have a good support system. I'm just, I'm just letting people know that, like, I maybe put on a brave face, but under the surface, it is tough. And that's why I talk about what I talk about, not because I hate drag queens, not because I hate gay people. I love everybody. I love too hard. And that's why I get hurt a lot. I'm just out here trying to be an advocate to help our kids, put them on the path that we had when we were younger. Because I feel like it's important to make sure our kids are taken care of and have what they need. And I think our kids are getting the wrong attention.
yeah. And this also could sum it up. Dry
Yep,
cultures and helping mental
absolutely.
health, everything that they're doing.
Yep,
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I don't shield my daughter from it either, because you can't. But you have to educate, and you have to let her know what's right and wrong. And she knows she's understands and agrees with, and she doesn't have to, but she listens to what I have to say, is what's on my podcast and what's going on and how I felt. She lets me share this story
Mhm.
because it's a part of her journey, and it's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So she shares a lot of stuff with me. She's very open with me, and I appreciate that. We have no secrets. I don't judge her. I get mad at her. I discipline her because I'm still her mom, but she'll talk to me about things. And she's like, God, Mom, I was watching the show and I couldn't believe they did this, that, and the other. Isn't that ridiculous? And it's like, so she sees it. She sees
Mhm.
it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't affect her still.
No. But, I would say as a parent, that's like, "Oh, thank God they're talking to me," because when a kid doesn't talk to you,
That's
or
when you
that feels
worry.
like, and feels like they can't confide in you, that
100%. Yeah.
yeah, that's always an issue. Well, and, we've all got our crosses we're bearing right now.
For
I mean,
sure.
I'm a
For sure.
basket case. Well, and here's the other thing, the attack on religion, especially, traditionally Christianity, that they've done.
Hmm.
Because 'cause I'm thinking, like, we as a Catholic Church, we're, like, invented hospitals and all these things pretty much, and
Hmm.
to a certain degree, and they went after them like the Little Sisters of the Poor. It's
Yep.
like, "Oh, yeah, let's help the poor. Oh, those nuns over there that are helping people for free and dedicating their whole lives? Let's try to destroy them and put them out of
Right.
business." So they're actually attacking the people that are actually trying to help. It's really,
Makes no
really
sense to me.
bizarre.
It's that they're bringing everybody down. It's like this world is so negative and just so full of hatred, and
Mhm.
it's just so disgusting. Like we're always beating each other down, and it's really, there's such a negative vibe all over the world, and I don't know. I just don't. I want it to end. I want it
Yeah.
to end. Not the
Yeah.
world. The
Yeah, no, not
negativity.
the world. Well,
Not the world.
where's Meteor Advocate Timon when we want? Because he's the
Yeah.
one that's
Yeah.
wants the meteor to hit. Well, and I can tell you, for some positives. Well, for one thing, things like what we're doing today, sometimes you just need to talk it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
it
sure.
feels better talking it out. And, the fun streams that we have, or video games, or, board games. I've been really encouraged to watch comedies because, I'm going through some. I'm a basket case right now because caregiving, and someone I love very much is more than one has
Yeah.
cancer, and
Yeah.
it just, oh, it's just devastating.
It is.
And so it's, you also got to kind of keep the humor in your life. Exercise. I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm a Yahtzee about exercising. Now it started during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I've got to make that as regular as eating, drinking, praying, whatever it is,
Yep.
you got to get that in because that also helps.
It
And
does. It helps the mental health. I absolutely agree. I'm right there with you. I did the same thing. Not to mention a whole nother podcast, but my cannoli Sasquatch tried to die on me about 2 years ago. Had a huge health scare right during COVID, not COVID related. I'm sorry, not
that's all
pandemic
right. I
related.
don't think they kick us off anymore for saying it. If you
Gosh, I
question
know. I
it.
get so nervous. But anyway, so we went on a health journey after that, and exercise became a daily part of my routine, so to speak, or I'm trying to anyway. And I do notice that I feel better when you do that. And it's very good for your mental health as well. And I think it has something to do with taking care of yourself. You can't forget, especially if you're being a caregiver as well. I feel like I'm always taking care of everything and everyone else. You've got to do something for yourself. I don't care what it is. You have to do something for yourself. And I do this like conversation with you has been very therapeutic because I don't have a lot of people to talk about it with. And so sometimes you just need to talk. I'm like, trying to think about doing therapy for myself just to talk about my insecurities as being a mom, what I've gone through with my daughter, how I could be better. Maybe the change, just we all need self-improvement, and however you can get it, you need to do it. It's very good for you.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, good advice here. I just wanted to say back then when you were sharing a little bit of your daughter's backstory and I kind of yelled out, it was because my cat jumped out of me from nowhere. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to you.
No, I
And I
didn't
was
even
thinking, I
mention.
hope she
I
doesn't think I'm
figured.
horrified because, like, yes, my daughter has medication. I'm like, ah. And it's like, no, it was the cat. It wasn't.
I didn't even think anything of it. I don't ever, if I hear weird background noises and stuff, listen, I have my own, I don't know what's going on downstairs right now. I told them to keep the dog down. I don't know what's going on. So I hope you didn't hear anything either.
Oh, no,
They're
it's okay.
having a
Well,
party
no, it
down
was
there or
me
something.
yelling because the cat, it was like a horror movie because I'm just minding my own business and this black cat comes flying through the,
Oh
because
my
they
gosh.
tried to jump on the keyboard. That's what it was. And I'm like, oh
Yep,
my
that'll
gosh.
do it.
And they're so
That'll do
quiet.
it.
He was probably stalking me the whole time and I didn't even know it. All right, well, now we're going to maybe, lighten things up because we believe in love and laughter at Miss Martin Muses. We're going to go into our roll 7 portion of the game. This is where I roll a d20 7 times with questions, and the dice will tell us, the die rather will tell us to some open-ended questions, and I always encourage people in the chat to participate as well. So let's start with the first roll. Let's see, what do we have here? It is, what are you most afraid of?
Me? Oh, that's my question.
Yeah, the question's for you. Yeah.
This is going to sound terrible. Two things: getting older and dying for different. I think mine is because I'm not ready to leave my daughter.
Well,
So those are my two things. Getting older, I have this thing about getting older. I don't know what it is. Like, nothing against getting older. It freaks me out. And then, like I said, dying. Not because I know where I'm going. I'm okay with that. It's I'm just worried about leaving my daughter. So those are the two things I'm afraid of.
Oh, sure. No. I'm thinking spiders. But yeah, that's always my answer. But that's a good answer. But yeah, like I said, these can be as serious or as lighthearted as you like.
Okay, I'll try to make them a little more
No,
lighthearted.
it's okay. It's a free country. This is your show.
Okay.
What is your favorite movie and why?
Oh my gosh, I hate this question because I am terrible at answering this because I don't know if I have a favorite movie. I'll just, you know what? I'm just going to put out there. I love Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. It's one of my favorite movies, and I'm going to tell you, I have a very distinct memory when I did have a relationship with my mom. The first time we watched it like 5 times in a row over like a weekend and just laughed our butts off. And I don't have very good memories of being a kid, but that was one of them. So I'm just going to go with that movie because I have a lot of favorite movies, but that one always stands out.
Yeah, it's always hard to choose one. Sometimes I
It is.
do
Like
different genres. Yeah,
if I was ever invited on Copa's What's Your Favorite Movie show, I have no idea what I would pick. I'm like, don't even ask me because I have no idea. And my husband's like, you don't have a favorite movie? I'm like, I don't know. I like a lot of movies.
Roll a dice. That's what I do when I'm in doubt, like I'm doing right now.
I know. Perfect.
Meteor Commune is Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, and dry. Oh, for the scared of scared of clowns, and being old alone meteor advocate Simone. Well, if you keep asking for that meteor, it's going to happen.
I
So
know, no kidding.
well, I think you're hoping the meteor will take you too. And
There you
again,
go.
not to be disrespectful, Timon, he's great, and I'm just thinking, um, I'm becoming more and more antisocial the older I'm getting. Right? What is the most annoying habit other people have?
Oh gosh. Holy moly. I think it's just complaining all the time without doing something about it. It's just like shut up and do something, make a change, stop complaining, just go take care of it. I
Yeah.
don't know, that's what came right off the top of my head.
Well, no,
Just
and that's what
don't
it
play
is.
the
Yeah.
victim. Yeah, just stop complaining. Just go figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's fix it.
Yep. All righty. And rule number 4. What's your favorite excuse when you're late?
Oh, I blame my daughter.
And she says, like, I hope she's not watching.
Yeah, I thank you. Well, it's usually okay if I'm late I'm never late on my own.
Mhm.
I'm always, but if there is, I'm always on time. I'm a stickler for that, probably because I work for doctors and it
Oh.
annoys me when patients are late. So I'm always early. But if we're ever late and my daughter's with me, it's usually her fault. I'm not even kidding. It's usually
Mhm.
her or my husband's fault. They're
Well,
terrible at leaving the house. They don't like to leave the house.
well,
So I blame them.
okay, there you go. So, you hear that, Mr. Cannoli and
Oh,
daughter?
he
They
knows it. He
it's all
knows
your
it.
fault.
Let me tell you something. Cannoli takes longer to get ready than I do. He
Wow.
can never find anything to wear.
Oh
True
my.
story. Yeah.
Well, there we go. You heard it here first here at Mr. Martin Muses, or maybe not first. All right. You know what? You've already said this because this is about the bucket list. You said what's on your bucket list.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I'm going to roll again. What would you
See?
do? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No,
What would
Cannoli just got in the chat and said it's true.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah. His ears were burning.
They
Um,
were. He doesn't deny it.
what would you do if you were the only human on Earth?
Oh, gosh. That is a really interesting question. I don't know how to answer that. Can I ask you, how would you answer that?
Oh, how would I answer that? I
I,
would
I it's a
I'd
it's a
probably yeah, if I was the only human on Earth, I'd go to if to the hot springs in Iceland, but I would need a boat. So actually I think I'd be screwed. Cuz
Yeah,
I
see,
like hot
I don't
springs.
know. That's a really cool question. Like, I would be eager to hear what other people would have to say.
Yeah.
I guess if I was the only person, I would try to find a dog because I love dogs, and I would try to maybe round up a bunch of dogs, but if I was the only person, I would just travel. I don't know. I guess I would just try to figure out how to make it all around. My one thing on my bucket list too is I would love to get like an RV and just like deck it out and just travel the country and just see everything. So maybe that's something I would do if I could find if but see, you have to I'm overanalyzing it. You have to also figure out what are you left with if you're the only person. Are there other
Yeah.
houses that are vacant? Are there vehicles? Like, what do I have to work with? See, I overanalyze stuff. That's
Yeah,
not
I
a
never
good
even
choice of
thought
my.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, in that case, I'd go and hang out in a mansion.
there exactly. Yes.
Dry said I built some kind of monument to something ridiculous like Kermit the Frog,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
aliens
There
would be
you
like,
go. Like,
"What?"
and I'm trying to remember. It sounds vaguely familiar. Like there was a movie where there was just like one group of people left and they just started living in other people's houses. So I'd have to know what I was working with first.
Yeah. Okay. I think now that I'm thinking what you said about the RV thing, that actually is kind of a bit of a dream of mine. Like any
Yeah.
country, just use any
Uh,
country, give me an
Yep.
RV and just going around and seeing different sites and
Yep.
seeing different you know, geological wonders.
I just have
Uh
a fascination with that. I don't know where it stems from, but I would love to just like sell everything, sell my house, just take everything, anything that I own just is in the RV, and that is it, and just be done, and just travel and stay a few days wherever I want, and I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have to be anywhere for anyone, and just exist.
No. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it. Everyone, let's
Yes.
all get an RV. Everyone get your own RV. Okay, if you did not have to sleep, what would you do with the extra time?
Oh gosh, I would probably, so if I was up all, I would probably just keep friggin' scrolling through TikTok and just watching dumb videos that I brought my brain, because I just, or just keep watching random things. I would probably, you know what? That's the thing. I lack time of watching stuff. So I would probably not do so much TikTok. I would start binge watching shows that I don't have time to watch. That's what I would do. I would
Yay.
find really good series of things that I have a list a mile long of things that I don't have time to watch. So I would pick series and I would just start binge watching. That's what I would do. Get up, screw TikTok. I'd binge watch stuff.
Yay. I
Yeah.
endorse that. Okay,
Yeah,
and last
sure.
but certainly not least, it is what is the most immature thing that you do?
Oh my gosh. I'm sure there's a lot. We should, Cannoli, are you listening? You put it in the chat.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking almost everything.
Oh,
I'm
oh
incredibly
God.
immature.
I'm gonna tell, well, I don't know. This is gonna make me sound like a really bad person, but I'll, like, when I get really angry, I like at my daughter, I start calling her names.
Oh,
I know it's terrible. I don't know what I don't know. Gosh, I don't
no,
know. I just get like really like nitpicky. Like I'll like get really like insulting. Maybe it is. Maybe I'll start insulting somebody. Like I'll, like when I fight, like I'll start insulting them or something. I don't know. I try not to be super immature, but I think that's where it is. I'll start acting like a little kid and be like, I know you are, but what am I? Type of attitude, maybe, if you will.
I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you
Yes.
say bounces off me and sticks to you.
Yep. I just start acting like a 2-year-old when I start like fight, especially with my daughter. I start, wait.
She picks something. Oh, there he goes.
Thank you. There I do. I pick on people. But
Yeah.
that's when I'm also like mad and angry. So I do get immature and I'll pick on people. He's right. I knew he would know. He knows me better than I know myself. I have 25 years with somebody to do that to you, I guess.
Yeah. Timon, I hold grudges for a long time, he says.
I can do that too. I'm pretty good at holding a grudge. I've got a few grudges that deserve it. Let me tell you.
Well-earned grudges.
Yes, that's what I mean. Well-earned grudges for sure.
All right. Well, that wraps this up. I want to say thank you so much for being on. I'm so glad we were able to finally work it out and
Me
yap
too.
and have a tete-a-tete here. How about where can we find you? Where can people in the chat find you?
Sure. So you can find me here on YouTube, of course, Mrs. Sassy Sasquatch. You can find me every Sunday on my channel at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. I do Mrs. Sassy Sunday stream. So, of course, I have one coming up this Sunday. The first Friday of every month on my channel, I also host Truly the Female Perspective. And it's just where we talk about things from a female perspective, where we feel like, a women's point of view on stuff, even male related stuff, just women's perspective. We have a really good time. I tend to drink a little bit too many Trulies, which is why it's called Truly the Female Perspective. But we just have a good time. And then you can also find me on Cannoli Sasquatch's channel one Friday, sometimes 2 Fridays a month, where we co-host together. It's called the Cannoli Connection. And we interview YouTubers and we just kind of have a nice conversation, get to know them. And but yeah, if you are interested in seeing what I have to offer, come on over this Sunday at 12 Pacific time. And if you like what you see, give me a subscribe. I would always appreciate that. I'm creeping closer to 500. But and I occasionally do movie reviews too. I usually do things that pertain to my channel. So the next one, if it stays, in the theater, you know, if it gets released, because movies are getting delayed, I will be reviewing the Marvels. 'Cause,
Oh, cool.
anything that
Okay.
has to do with like female stuff and not always in a good light, we'll see. We'll see if that ends up getting released. But yeah, that's my channel.
Excellent. And I do have the link here in the chat. And we
Thank
have
you.
a super sticker from Meteor Advocate Timon, and it is a rose. Yay. Thank you, Meteor Advocate Timon,
Very
for
nice.
$1.49. It is whatever it is, the Brazilian currency, and I will
Okay.
mispronounce it if I try to say it. Yes, all the way from Brazil. Thank you so much for the rose sticker, and may your day be filled with roses and happy things. That's I like to give roses, so it's always very special when I receive one.
Yes, you do. I always see you sprinkling your roses all over through the chats and stuff. It's always nice to see you. And thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I do
Oh,
appreciate you. I
yay!
just
Another
got
kind of a
subscribed.
rose.
Yes, thank you.
Yay! Yeah, those discussions are really good. I was well, I forget the one you had like 2 weeks
Yeah, you
ago.
were fun. I really enjoyed you in that chat. You had a lot of stuff to offer. It was fun.
Yeah, I had a I had a lot to say that day,
You
but
did,
yeah,
and I
so
I love that. You know what I have to say real quick? On my Sunday shows, I don't even get through a fraction of my topics because the
yes.
chat just really, keeps me going, has a lot to say, and I interact a lot with them, and so, especially when you do a solo show, a chat is really important. So, it's I do appreciate when people show up in my chat. It really makes my shows that much easier, and even if it's on my female perspective, you gave a lot of really good points, and we enjoyed that for sure.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, well, because you were kind of talking about marriage and sing and should, and I'm like, hey,
Oh,
single
yeah.
woman here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. We were talking about that because things got really crazy, like Candace Owens and her perspective on marriage and stuff. And so you
Mhm.
had a lot of good insight, and from the religious end, and I enjoyed that. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, as in I enjoyed it. Yeah, and you can find me here on Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. I may be on a Lady Gravemasters, and when I say I may be, let's see what she said. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm planning on being on Lady Gravemaster. There's a bit of a debate going on, and it's an internal discussion, so it has to do with what might be a spoiler and may not. It's not anything like personal. So, in any case, so please stay tuned for that. And if you haven't subscribed to Lady Gravemaster, please do so. Also, let's see, what do I have coming up? I usually do We the People Wednesday, where I go through currently the United States Constitution and other documents and government related things. Catholic Explaining is usually Sunday. And whenever I say usually, because of course I've said I am caregiving, so my schedule will depend upon that.
Sure.
So, and I'm going to be doing some reviews of some of the Halloweenish kind of movies that I've been watching. And my
Oh,
theme for October will be Frankenstein. Every year I do a theme. Last year I did all Dracula stuff, and now I'm doing Frankenstein. So,
cool. That'll be
yay.
fun. Perfect timing.
All right. Well, thank you once again. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
And be certain to keep your eyes wide open.